We have had 3 years of the betrayal of that pact made with the British people in a previous Parliament that simply would not honour the manifesto commitments on which 80% of the last Parliament had been elected. Those who wilfully signed up to a manifesto saying that it would honour the referendum result and then came to this House and betrayed that did not enjoy their first democratic contact with their voters. And I'm proud that so many of my new colleagues are taking the place of those who did not honour it. It is also an opportunity, I have to say, Mr. Speaker, a historic opportunity for you to repair some of the damage done to the reputation to the chair of this House by some of the decisions made by your predecessor, and we wish you well in that great historic task. Can I say to my right honourable friend, the Prime Minister, he's absolutely right not to enter onto a period of constant extension to our implementation period with the European Union. There could be nothing that would give the EU less incentive to come to a final agreement with the UK than embarking on such a process. And having had the torture of the last few years, where we saw endless increases in the time frame, we need not go through that again. I'll give way to my honourable friend.
Does my right honourable friend agree that given Australia negotiated trade deals with Japan, South Korea and China all within 18 months, there is no reason we cannot negotiate a good trade deal with the EU by the end of next year, given we've had 47 years of integration, as long as there's goodwill on their side?
My honourable friend puts his finger on the most important point. It's not a technical issue we will face, it's a political issue that we will face. Indeed, the political declaration sets out that we will have no tariffs, no fees and no quotas in the economic relationship ahead. That's what normally takes up the time in trading agreements, so it's entirely possible that it can be done. But the debate, Mr. Speaker, is that we will be embarking upon is not one about tariffs and fees and quotas. It's about regulatory alignment. That will be the central debate in the negotiations we have with the European Union, and we need to see this in a wider global context. At the WTO meeting in Buenos Aires, it became clear that in the global trading system there are two ways forward. One is the concept of harmonisation, a highly legalistic, regulatory means of doing business that says this is the way we do it today, therefore this is the way we'll always do it in the future. Against that, there is the wider concept of outcome-based equivalence, which says, yes, we know what standards we need to meet, but we want to find our own ways, our own rules, our own efficiencies in achieving that particular outcome. And the EU is now in a real minority. It is virtually only the EU that takes the route of harmonisation. And there are those in the forthcoming negotiations who will say that for access to the single market, Britain must accept dynamic alignment. In other words, we must automatically change our rules in line with the EU. Can I say to the Prime Minister, he will have 100% support from the Conservative Party by ruling out any concept of dynamic alignment, which would leave Britain in a worse place in terms of taking back control than we actually have as a member of the European Union. Mr. Speaker, this debate that we are embarking upon is a clear choice. There was never at any point in the European debate the option of maintaining the status quo, because we either had to embark on our own course, controlling our own borders, our funds, our own future, or we were tied to an economic and political model of the European Union that's utterly dependent on ever closer union. I never have believed that ever closer union was in Britain's national interest, and if the bus has got the wrong destination on the front, then the best thing to do is to get off the bus, which is what the British people decided to do. I give way to my honourable friend.
I agree with my right honourable friend. Does he not recall that the Leader of the Opposition spent his time sneering at the standards in the United States, a democratic and advanced economy? But one of the points that he was making is correct. If you look at their standards, when it comes to campylobacterial infection and also salmonella, they have fewer deaths per capita than the UK or the European Union. They get there by different methods, and they get there better than we do, so we should stop sneering.
Well, I hope that my right honourable friend will forgive me if I don't take too much notice of an anti-wealth, anti-American, anti-trade tired old lefty rhetoric that we get from the soon-to-be forgotten leader of the opposition. The debate that we have, Mr. Speaker, is a very clear one. The Prime Minister is leading Britain in a direction which will produce a confident, outward-looking European Union. To many of us, leaving the European Union wasn't because Europe was foreign. It's in an era of globalisation. Europe was not foreign enough. It spent too much time gazing at its own navel and worrying about political integration. We are embarked upon a historic and correct course for our nation. And I go back, Mr. Speaker, to where I began on this question of trust, and I say this in the spirit of the season, that I hope that even Hugh Grant will watch our seasonal offering this year, which is democracy, actually.